The Salem Witch Trials were a series of events that took place in 1692 in Salem, Massachusetts, which have become one of the most infamous episodes in American history. These trials and executions were rooted in superstition, fear, and mass hysteria. In this detailed account, we'll explore the true story of the Salem Witch Trials and the significant incidents that occurred during the dark period in colonial America. The Salem Witch Trials occurred during a time when the Massachusetts Bay Colony was a theocratic society deeply influenced by Puritan religious beliefs. The Puritans held strict religious convictions and were highly suspicious of anything they considered unnatural or satanic. These beliefs set the stage for a tragic sequence of events. The first incident that sparked the Salem Witch Trials can be traced back to early 1692 when two young girls, Betty Paris, 9 years old, and Abigail Williams, 11 years old, began exhibiting strange and seemingly inexplicable behaviors. They claimed to be afflicted by invisible forces, experienced fits of convulsions, screaming, and speaking in gibberish. The local doctor, William Griggs, examined the girls but couldn't find any physical cause for their symptoms. In a society steeped in superstition, Griggs concluded that the girls were bewitched. The diagnosis ignited a fear that quickly spread throughout the community. Betty and Abigail were not the only ones to exhibit these symptoms. Other young girls in the village, including Ann Putnam Jr., Mercy Lewis, and Mary Walcott, also claimed to be afflicted by witchcraft. These girls began accusing others in the community of being witches who had allegedly bewitched them. The first person accused of witchcraft was Tituba, a Caribbean slave who worked for Reverend Samuel Paris, Betty's father. Under intense pressure, Tituba confessed to being a witch and claimed that she had been initiated into witchcraft by other women in the community. This confession further fueled the hysteria. The accusations snowballed, and soon many people in Salem found themselves accused of witchcraft. The trials began in earnest in March 1692 when three women, Sarah Good, Sarah Osborne, and Tituba, were brought to trial. All three were found guilty, with Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne sentenced to hang, while Tituba was spared, likely due to her confession. The accusations and trial continued to escalate throughout the spring and summer of 1692. In June, Bridget Bishop became the first person to be hanged as a witch in Salem. Over the next several months, a total of 19 men and women were executed by hanging, and one man, Charles Corey, was pressed to death with heavy stones after refusing to enter a plea. The trials were marked by an absence of due process, with the accused often subjected to harsh interrogations and evidence based on spectral testimonies. Claims of seeing the accused spirit engaging in witchcraft being considered valid. Spectral evidence played a central role in the Salem Witch Trials. It was the belief that the afflicted girls could see the spirits and apparitions of those who were allegedly witches, and these visions were used as evidence in court. This reliance on spectral evidence allowed for the prosecution of a wide range of individuals without substantial proof or guilt. As the number of accusations and executions continued to rise, public opinion began to turn against the trials. Prominent figures in the colony, including ministers, expressed skepticism about the use of spectral evidence and the fairness of the trials. In October 1692, Governor William Phips ordered the Court of Oyer and Terminer, which had been responsible for the witchcraft trials, disbanded. A new court, the Superior Court of Judicature, was established to hear the witchcraft cases. The new court was less reliant on spectral evidence and required more concrete proof of guilt. With the change in legal approach, the witchcraft trials began to lose momentum. The last trial took place in January 1693, and the final group of accused individuals were released from jail later that year. In 1697, those who had been convicted and imprisoned were eventually pardoned, and in 1702, the colonial legislature officially reversed the attainders of those who had been found guilty, thus clearing their names. The Salem Witch Trials have been the subject of much historical analysis and debate. Several factors likely contributed to the outbreak of hysteria, like the Puritan beliefs, which is the strict religious beliefs of the Puritans combined with their fear of the devil and superstitions about witchcraft that create a fertile ground for accusations. Socioeconomic tensions. Many of those accused of witchcraft were on the margins of society, including widows, outcasts, and those with a few resources. Accusations often rose from disputes over property, personal grudges, or social tensions. Once the accusations began, fear and paranoia spread rapidly throughout the community. People may have accused others to deflect suspicion away from themselves or out of genuine belief in the existence of witches. Economic factors. The trials had economic implications as well. The seizure of property from the accused befitted some members of the community, which could have incentivized accusations. Lack of legal safeguards. The absence of a fair legal process, including the use of spectral evidence, made it easier for accusations to lead to convictions. The Salem Witch Trials left a lasting scar on the community and became a symbol of the dangers of mass hysteria and the abuse of power. Families were torn apart, lives were ruined, and the dark cloud hung over Salem for years to come. In the centuries that followed, the trials were revisited in literature, including Arthur Miller's play The Crucible, which addressed the anti-communist hysteria of the McCarthy era in the 1950s. In 1957, Massachusetts formally apologized for the witch trials, acknowledging the grave miscarriage of justice that had occurred. Today, Salem embraces its history and hosts a thriving tourism industry that includes museums and events dedicated to the trials. The Salem Witch Trials serve as a sobering reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria, intolerance, and the importance of a fair and just legal system. They are a cautionary tale that continues to captivate the imagination and serve as a historical lesson in the United States colonial past. The Salem Witch Trials remain a haunting chapter in American history, illustrating the devastating consequences of superstition, fear, and the unchecked power of mass hysteria. The legacy of these trials serves as a somber reminder of the importance of justice, due process, and tolerance in society.